Hey, so my dad was the baby of five kids. His dad was a dairy farmer who also raised some cattle for sale. And then later in his life, he worked as a grain elevator operator. And then even later than that, he felt called to the ministry and became a preacher. So that's my granddad on my dad's side of the family. He drove the school bus. Sometimes my grandmother was a public school teacher around this same time. My dad's older brothers, they were they were born and raised as farmhands. But by the time my dad came along as a baby, my granddad was already off into some of that other grain elevator, going to school, being a minister kind of things. So my dad didn't quite have the time on the farm as my older uncle and aunt had that time. But the stories are great, man. That's all in the Midwest. And then I got born out here. My dad turned out to be a pastor like his dad was. In fact, two of my uncles are pastors as well. So I was born when my folks were 20 and 21. Dad was wrapping up his undergrad. Mom left school in order to raise me. My dad finished his undergrad, went to seminary, got his master's of divinity, became a minister. That's all he's ever been for as long as I've ever known the man. I grew up, my dad grew up in the ministry. That's a true story. We lived in Indiana for a long time, then moved out to Arizona for a long time. My grandparents on both sides of the family started to fall ill. And my parents, because they love family, thought it was a good thing to have their three kids. That's me. I'm the oldest of those three kids. To have us, to have a relationship with our grandparents that wasn't just once a year driving the Ford Aerostar across the country to spend time with them. My parents said, well, really, family is important to us. So we want our kids to know their grandparents. So they picked us up and moved us all the way back to where we're from in the Midwest. And it was amazing to kind of have that relationship again after spending several years apart. My grandparents were active in my life when I was young, and the same with my younger siblings. And then to have that relationship later in life was cool. So, we were around them as they, got old and completed their life. I didn't do too much fancy, chased a girl halfway across the country. Turns out that didn't work out, so I had to crawl back home when I ran out of money. I was a barista for some time because they offered part-time benefits. Tried to go to college, dropped out of college, finally went back to college, managed to get myself together, got a bachelor's degree, a master's degree, went out and started working in the world. A year after working in the world, bro, I got terminal brain cancer. So I had to take a leave of absence, had a huge surgery to put me in the hospital for a month so I could relearn how to walk again. Finally, got through treatment, got through all that, man. Got back to that job where I was working at, 9 to 5, going to the office, that sort of deal, while also trying to manage outpatient therapy and irregular MRI scans and chemotherapy and all that stuff, man. My spouse and I, we got married. We're from the same place, right around the same part. We bought a home right around the same part because we're having kids and we want those kids to be by their grandparents. Maybe you'd notice a theme in the family here. And so our grandparents on both sides are our kids' grandparents, I should say, me and my spouse's parents, real active in our life. Kids are on the sports teams. They go to public school, ride the bus to school. We're just sit out and have driveway beers all the time with our neighbors around here. Very like Midwest, suburban, middle class. We're just out here doing it. Now, what I've learned in my life from being, a couple of generations deep of pastors, not to mention, we found out in my adolescence that my mom, who was adopted, comes from a big Jewish family. And so that got me into being Jewish, man. That helped me reconnect with my family and find that part of me. You might notice it's about Chag Hanukkah Sameach, man. It's about time up there. At any rate, so that taught me some things about learning different ways to be in the world and reconnecting and being authentic to yourself. And that's a good, important value to have. But both the traditions from my dad as the pastor and then, this Jewish family that we connected with some 25 years ago, everybody cares about justice in both those families, cares about repairing the world, cares about looking out for those who have been marginalized, cares about joining the struggle for civil rights. That's coming through both of my families. So it just turns out that I'm a Midwestern kid who doesn't make a whole lot of money, who just hangs out on the driveway with our neighbors while the kids throw the football around. It just turns out that I, took a liking to fighting for trans rights. That's important to make sure, we protect same-sex marriage. I've gotten into reparations and reparatory justice. Now, I understand those are liberal, woke, extremist, left lunatic stuff, man. But listen this is the story of my life. From a poor kid who was born when my parents were 20, Didn't have much money at all. They had one old, like 1970 something car that an old lady at church sold to my parents for like $150. That was our car growing up. We had one 13-inch black and white TV that sat in the kitchen. That was the TV that we had. We didn't even get that until I was maybe 4. A fancy meal was going to Steak and Shake if a big deal happened. That's my life, man. I bet there are so many of you out there, and that's your life too. We're just Midwestern, good folk, salt of the earth, got some farmers in our family, got some public servants, some public educators in our family. A lot of us just go to church every Sunday because that's what you do. You hang out after work and you have some beers with your neighbors out on the driveway. That's my life, man. That's what I do. And I bet that's like your life too. And I'm just about fed up with the perspective that I have about these rich and wealthy people taking away what's ours. We're the working class. We're the ones who make the world go around. And it's just, I am flabbergasted that this is who I am and this is my life story. And it just so happens that I opened my eyes to maybe we shouldn't just bully marginalized populations. Maybe we shouldn't be greedy all the time. Maybe we should look to give some people some health care and some housing and some income and some parental leave. Maybe we should take care of each other. Maybe the reason we feel like we shouldn't take care of each other because a bunch of rich, wealthy people said, shit, if they start getting together against us, then we can't fleece them of all the money. They're not going to buy our $400 ugly ass gold sneakers anymore if they figure out that we've been turning them against each other. So I've about had it. I'm about fed up with getting this bad rap because I'm looking out for people. That's my life story. The son of pastors and public educators and farmers and trying to raise up a house on our own in the Midwest, man. This is salt of the earth. I drive by the cornfields. That's my life, dude. And I bet that's your life too. And I've about had it with people turning us against each other because we might disagree about whether women should have abortions or not. That's turning us against each other. And the billionaires and the corporate class, they are taking advantage of us by feeding us this culture war nonsense. Open your damn eyes. Let's team up, crew. Get over that culture war stuff that they're using to divide us because they know divided that we are weaker, but together, my friends, we are stronger. So listen to my story. I bet it's like your story. Maybe we should look out for some people to give them some health care and give them some income and give them some shelter. Maybe that matters more than trying to give tax breaks to wealthy people and corporations.